A lot of people have to show their papers to do a lot of things, including apparently acting in Hollywood. We're going to have a trans star of a Showtime TV show come on my show today and talk about this TV star was celebrated, but then apparently things went wrong when they realized that the actor did not have their papers. So we're about to bring this person on and talk about Hollywood's double standards. And we're going to talk all about Pride Month and trans issues, which is something I have not yet discussed really on my YouTube. And some of you guys have been asking about it because a lot of people have been sharing various videos. Okay, so before we get into this whole topic, shout out to the sponsor of my coverage. So a new study confirms older looking faces are rated as less attractive than younger looking faces. The study goes on to explain that older looking faces are treated as a category when making aesthetic judgments, and that unfortunately for women, men distinguish more clearly between faces when judging attractiveness, especially so for female faces. The older you look, the tougher it would be for you in the dating market and harder it'll be to find the love of your life, according to this study on NIH. Luckily, we found a new product that is helping women all over the world by helping them reduce dark spots, sagging skin, and crow's feet. This new serum is rising in popularity for delivering a boost of youthfulness to users' skin. Using the rejuvenating serum can provide smoother, firmer, younger looking skin in as little as 7 days. You may not even recognize yourself in the mirror. If this sounds like something that you want to try, don't wait because they have sold out previously and it can take a while to restock inventory. I'm warning you. Now, in case you go to the site and it says sold out, if you want it, grab it now. Plus, I've been able to grab my audience up to 38% off when they click the link below in my description. It's glowwithivory.com. Link in description. Ageless Glow. I love using it morning and night. Okay, with that being said, I'm going to bring Jasmine Davis on live to discuss the controversy. Jasmine, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for joining me. So I'm reading this Ebony article that is just, raving about you. Actress Jasmine Davis discusses coming out as a transgender woman on The Chi. So Showtime's The Chi looks like a very interesting show that you were on for several seasons, I guess. And now there is new coverage out, BET, saying the Chi star Jasmine Davis left show due to faking your papers. I'm using code words on YouTube, but apparently you didn't get the needle in the arm. So tell me about what really happened here.
Well, it's been a lot. That show has took me through a lot, and it was a lot of discrimination on set previously while filming with them. I was picked on by a lady named Molly, and the head of Disney. How would I say? That was in charge of the situation, making sure people get
had their papers.
Not papers, like, because none of that was happening. That's why I'm saying it was such a lie. None of that was happening when I was filming. It started happening. They started asking people to make sure you have your papers after we were filming. That was in July, but that wasn't an issue when I was filming. So that I'm like, it's a whole big lie. I was discriminated against because I didn't get the needle. I feel like back then, when it wasn't a mandatory getting your papers. And they basically tortured me. That's why I said a lot of it in my interview, how they were making up rules for certain people. And then when it came to me, they treated me like a prisoner. And it's unacceptable. And even now, I found out that some people don't have their papers. They have an exemption, but wouldn't give me one. But I decided to leave the show way before that. I just didn't tell them that. Like I said, I explained it on my Instagram, how I changed my whole Instagram because they had took over my Instagram, and BET is affiliated with one of the creators of the show. So, they're going to put out that story against me, but anyone can check the records. When I was filming in 2021 early, there was no mandates to have papers around the time I was filming, only afterwards. And I never submitted that form that Disney asked for to go back, because I was never going back and I was never getting the needle. And I just didn't even want to deal with the whole situation anymore, because after what I dealt with, and then I thought that I should have been giving certain things because they were trying to use me as their puppet for their LGBT puppet. And I'm no one's puppet. And I realized, yeah, my character was just there to be used and to be seen and to create the hype. And I'm not about that. I'm an artist. I'm not a trans artist. I'm not a Black artist. I'm an actress first and foremost. And I'm not about letting people use me for whatever agenda.
So yeah, they liked you for their LGBT narrative, but then their pandemic narrative didn't pan out. You didn't fit with the pandemic narrative, huh?
Yeah.
So why did you not want to get the needle in the arm?
Because of the research, I have my own mind. Some people don't. I guess some people read whatever they want to read. I grew up in a household. We stopped getting vaccines when I was 10 because of all the research, and we feel like it played a part in me becoming a little ADD and dyslexic. Luckily, I was able to overcome it, and I can read and things like that. But some people can, and some people have ADHD where they can't really sit still. So I'm just glad that I had the type of mom that, chose not to vaccinate, chose not to give her kids the needle when they were young. And growing up with that mindset, it was a no-brainer for me. I don't feel like anyone should be forced to do anything, especially, it's so funny, the same people who going around saying my body, my choice with abortion, I didn't hear none of them standing when it came to the needle. So,
Right. Why did they say why you needed to show or have your papers just to act?
No, it's again, people were just making up their own rules. My thing was the show got shut down several times from people who had the needle. So my thing is, if you already had the needle and you still are getting the show shut down because you're sick or catching things, why would I want something? And my own natural health I felt was stronger, and I've been around it, and I caught it, and I was good. And like I said, I have my own mind. It was a no-brainer for me. It was no explanation that someone can give me that made sense. It was so many questions that was unanswered. And I just felt like, again, me having my own mind, doing my own research, I realized that's not something I would want to do, and it's not worth a job. And especially me being a transsexual, I'm already on hormones, and things that's in the needle can actually jeopardize my health. So it was a no-brainer for me.
Yeah, the needle mandates never fully made sense to me, because if the needle works for protecting the person who's had the needle, then why do you care whether anyone around you has had it too?
My point exactly. I always say, look at the homeless too. The homeless didn't get wiped out. They just increased. None of them had the needle. None of them was clean. None of them was washing their hands. So again, none of it made sense to me, and me having my own mind and coming from a family who have their own mind. My family is I would say liberal conservatives.
Oh.
So none of it made sense to me. I was taught to use my own mind. I come from a religious family and a spiritual family. So using both together. So I was always taught to use my own mind and connect with source, and not a man, any government, So I was always taught to use my own intuition, and my own intuition growing up never led me to believe, just out of the research of my ancestors for centuries living without a needle, that will be great for my health. But again, that's just me. I don't know why other people don't see how we've been living for centuries without it. But again, that's just me.
So, speaking of the needle, the narrative has changed to like, well, okay, we know that the needle's not very effective. There's a ton of breakthroughs. So now the narrative is, well, it prevents you from getting severe illness. And just the other day, MSN had a news article out covering a study that showed that people who had not had the needle rarely had a severe case of the illness. Of course, I'm talking in all the code words because we're on YouTube and I've had multiple strikes already and I'm trying to preserve my channel.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I have this article from the nationalpulse.com. It was really interesting when MSN news website put this out, this story against the narrative. It's a website owned or created by Bill Gates's people. And so people were instantly like making bets on how long it's going to be before this website gets taken down or this article gets taken. Sure enough, I have this article from the nationalpulse.com. MSN quietly deletes a story revealing that severe illness is rarely found in people who have not had the needle. Again, I'm paraphrasing in code words this headline. It says a research paper found that people who did not receive the needle had a lower rate of suffering a severe case of the new illness amidst the pandemic. The article, which has been uploaded to the preprint server ResearchGate, relied on data from over 18,500 respondents across 175 countries. Analysis revealed that individuals who did not have the needle reported fewer instances of hospitalization in comparison to their counterparts who did get the stick in the arm.
And plus more. It's funny. I'm glad you said that because I've been around so many people who had the illness, including myself twice. And it was like, but again, I'm vegan, I'm healthy, so it's different. Everybody's health is different, but a lot of people in my family had the illness and none of them had a needle. And everyone was like, oh yeah, we were fine after a couple of days. And some people after a week or whatever. Again, like I said, I don't know what's going on. A lot of stuff just don't make sense to me, but I just noticed more of the people I know who didn't get the needle, who actually had an illness of some sort, recovered better. And I know a lot of people who got the needle are now having a lot of severe side effects. And it breaks my heart because I can't break it to them that, you're having these new side effects and you're not putting the clues together. What's wrong with you?
Right. So let's talk about these fake papers BET is reporting. Did you get like a forged paper saying you got the stick in the arm?
No, I had a look. You know how you go downtown like a fake ID or whatever. I had a card to get in an event or whatever that my agent had because I was trying to get into this like event or whatever.
Wait, so your agent had a card that said?
No, I had a card and I gave it because I wanted to get into this. It's called a gifting suite that you get to go into. So they're requiring papers for that or whatever. And someone was like, yeah, it's like a fake ID. Here you go. And I was like, what? I'm like, okay, it's easy to get one downtown. So I didn't think nothing really of it or whatever. So when it came time to the show asking me to come back, which I already knew I wasn't coming back, they sent out a health form. And it was like, we're not accepting cards. You got to fill out this health form because there's a lot of fake papers out there that a lot of actors are using, which is true.
Wait, so a lot of actors are pretending they got this new experimental needle.
And some actors are actually getting exemptions and other actors are not. It's an actor right now suing Disney. A Black actor on 911 who's suing Disney because he said they would not give him a religious exemption, but they were giving other people exemptions. And he felt it was discriminatory. I felt the same way too. They gave some people on the show I'm on exemptions, but wouldn't give me one if I wanted to come back, which that's why I'm not really going to court for it because I feel like there's no reason to try to sue them for work discrimination because to be fair, I already made in my mind that I was not coming back. Due to other reasons I explained to people on the show. So I never submitted no card to them. You had to fill out a form and they kind of go in your HIPAA records. And from my understanding, being a CNA nurse back in the day, that's illegal for people to go into your records, allegedly.
HIPAA, yeah.
Yeah. So it's a form called a health flow you have to fill out. which I think allegedly gives them permission to go into your medical records to see if you had papers or not. I never did that. A, I thought it was illegal, and B, I never was going back. So I felt the need to why even fill that paper out. And then they said it was an investigation. How is it an investigation? Y'all knew my stance from it from the start. And I had conversations with you guys. I had emails sent to me that I have saying that we would like to submit you for a recommendation for an Emmy. So make the lies make sense. I have too much proof. It was funny to me. But
so from the beginning, you told them you're not getting this.
I said that on day one when I came back in 2021, when I was on set in February, it was freezing cold, and they were telling people, you know how they were doing a scent of free donuts and stuff like that first, to get the needle. And I made it loud and clear on set in front of a lot of people. That was not happening in my case. And if they ever tried to mandate it, which I felt it was coming, I was going to say it's been fun.
So what were their reactions when
people were having conversations, but I can tell some of the producers and people were hearing me say this, and I guess they thought I was a joke about it. But I'm a woman of my word. I stand by my faith. I stand by what I stand for. And I don't believe no government or no one have the right to tell you what to do with your body.
So I want to talk about you being trans. We're in Pride Month right now, and a lot of people are talking about trans.
Whatever that means, yeah.
Okay, so you didn't like them using you as their LGBT puppet.
Mm-hmm.
And you said you're not transgender, you're transsexual.
Yes.
Okay, tell me what you're talking about here.
Okay, so I feel like this industry likes to use certain narratives, to push whatever narratives they have. And I feel like there's some good people. I just want to make that disclaimer. There are some good people in Hollywood. Unfortunately, I feel like a lot of bad people are in charge right now, but there are some good people fighting for some good things. I do think representation is necessary, but at a point where I feel like it's so unbalanced, and you can kind of see that we are pushing a narrative that's not for the greater good. And I start seeing that since day one. That's why it took me so long to come out. Like I was telling people, I've been in this industry way before. I did videos. I've already done acting roles. I played a stripper. I was a stripper in real life, So I've been in this industry, and I've been living as a woman for a very long time. And I've seen the difference from then and now. And I start seeing how they start using now the LGBT community like they use the Black community in a way that I felt like, they're not using us to promote exclusivity, It's getting used for a different reason. But again, like I said, not everyone is doing that, but some people are. But the show I felt was using me because it was on its third season. I got hired in its third season. It was already losing ratings because 2 actors have left. One actor left because they wanted my character to be his love interest. And he said he felt uncomfortable having a love interest that's transgender. And I feel like that's his right. He was on the show first. And if he feels like that makes him uncomfortable, doesn't make him transphobic or whatever, that's just his thing. Not everyone's comfortable with whatever. Then another woman left because she was complaining about sexual harassment, and the creator did nothing. So she left. And then they fired the guy who was allegedly sexually harassing her. So mind you, 3 people have already left the show. Wow. So the show had so much toxic energy with it. So they brought me on to revive the show. And, because, it's like, oh my gosh, she's the wild card. Everyone was wondering, is she really trans? What's going on with her? Wait a minute. We saw her in other things. We didn't know she was trans, like I said, I did a G-Eazy video. I did some stuff for Playboy. So it was a big wow factor for some people. And, I start slowly seeing how I was used, and no one really had my back when I started receiving the bully and the threats. And everyone was just worrying about just smile on camera, don't answer any questions, and just be this bright and shiny person that you are. And my mental health was just slowly declining because I wasn't being my authentic self. I wasn't speaking out by saying what was really going on, what I thought was wrong. some of the treatment I was experiencing on set, and
So this is you on the show.
yes.
Uh-huh. Okay. So go on. Your mental health was.
Yeah, my mental health was declining because that show, that it was so toxic, like with some crew members. It was unorganized. A lot of the crew members already had beef with each other before I even came on the show. I feel like I was just tolerated, not really appreciated by some, but some people was genuinely nice. I actually can say some people was genuinely nice. I felt like the creator used me for her advantage, and she's a part of the LGBT community, which is funny. I never met her, but I thought we were friends. And then I figured out later that, yeah, I was just getting used for the hype of the show. And when they felt like they didn't need me anymore, there's another actor they can throw away.
So when did you realize you were trans? When did you transition?
Oh, this was like when I was like 20. Like actually like 18, and then I started transitioning like 20, but yeah.
So a lot of my audience doesn't know what to think about trans. And they have a lot of questions.
Okay.
So when did you, what caused you to think that you didn't want to be male anymore?
Okay, so it's a scientific fact that we are all born before we come out the fetus as female, correct? It's a scientific fact. Yeah, if you research it, that life starts off as female, and then the chromosomes figure out.
Well, when you're a baby in the womb, if you're a boy, you already have a penis,
right? But if you're in the womb if we're all starting off before we even start creating genders, you can research it. We all start off as female, and then whatever Mother Nature does, it realizes if you're going to be male or female. That's why some people come out with both. And we all know that's a scientific fact too, that some people actually come out with both genitals. And so what happened is, for a few of us, I feel like it's like 2% of us in the world these days that come out in a body that our minds are still connected to something else. Like for me, I felt like my brain and my heart always felt like a female, even though my body was different. But I'm just so grateful that I didn't have parents or anyone pushing any narrative on me, telling me, oh, you're this and that. My family didn't have the slightest idea what transgender is. And I had to figure it out on my own. And I was allowed to just be a kid. And I'm glad I was allowed to be a kid. And I figured it out on my own, what was going on with me.
But it wasn't until you were 18?
No, I figured it out a long time ago. I always felt that I was a girl a long time ago, even when I was young. Everyone told me that. And it's funny because my mom told me after I was older, she said when I was born in her womb, they thought I was coming out as a genetic woman because the doctors told her she was having a girl. And wow. She bought this girl stuff. And then when I came out, it was a surprise to them. And it's a going joke that we make that, surprise at the end of the day, you still had a girl.
Oh, wow. Okay. So I want to get your take on some headlines in regards to.
Oh, I think I know what you're going to ask.
Well, I was actually going to ask you about this big breaking news in the swimming world. World Swimming bans transgender athletes from women's events. Associated Press reporting this week, quote, World Swimming's governing body has effectively banned transgender women from competing in women's events starting Monday. FINA members widely adopted a new gender inclusion policy on Sunday that only permits swimmers who transitioned before age 12 to compete in women's events. The organization also proposed an open competition category. What's your thoughts on that?
Being a woman now for most of my life, I do know the difference between the strength I had and the strength I have now. And I work out. I'm a fitness, now I run my own business. I'm a fitness instructor. I work out to maintain my muscle and to maintain my strength. And I'm going to be honest, when I first saw it, no offense against the lovely transgender person who is swimming, I found that it was kind of odd that, for me, this is my personal opinion, that someone who identifies as a woman, only been on hormones for 2 years and still have male genitals, gets to play on a woman's sport. And this is, again, this is just someone who has a vagina. I've always felt that if I'm playing a sport, I don't want to play against no one with a penis. That's just my opinion. But
well, whether you chop your penis off or not, you still have, stronger muscles and
yeah,
bigger
yeah,
build.
right. So I totally get that. So when they're saying like they can't compete after age 12 because it's like puberty, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, it sounds fair to me.
So former Penn State swimmer Leah Thomas, that was the big controversy. Leah still has Olympic goals and says trans women are not a threat to women's sports. Yeah, when you saw it, Leah next to other women, it was very clear that
Well,
this
because
person's
in
built like a man.
general, yeah, because in general, if you're transitioning, you can ask any doctor, like any respectful doctor would tell you. I feel like it takes at least 10 years for you to take an edge off, of hormones. But that's all depends on if you're young. But if you are older and you've had hormones like testosterone most of your life and you're like swimming now, you're going to have a big edge over women, in my opinion. But who am I?
Okay, I also want to ask your take on some of these drag queen controversies. Now, I don't know about you, but like my Instagram feed has been filled with a lot of conservatives who are super upset about
What
kids being put in front of drag queens, and then drag queens over sexualizing the situation. And I just want to show you one example. So here's something that comes through my Instagram feed. So this is a guy wearing fake breasts. It looks like fake. They look like real naked breasts, but they're fake. And the drag queen is jiggling the breast in front of the child, and then the child or their mother hands the drag queen some dollar bills.
is
And
that
so,
real?
yeah, so there's the little kid right there, little kid, a little girl. You can see the drag queen grabs the breast, or grabs their breast and the money. But anyway, parents are upset because this is a very sexual situation, like a strip club sort of vibe for a small child. So what is your take on children being presented to these sexual situations so young?
I would ask the question for people if that was a regular strip club. Again, me being an ex dancer, would they bring their kids to a strip club, a regular strip club?
Yeah.
And if you're not, because I wouldn't bring my kid to a regular strip club, but so why would you bring your kid to something like that? I don't get why kids are getting exposed to so much sexual stuff these days. It just makes no sense to me. But again, who am I? But I personally wouldn't bring my kid to any type of strip club or anything like this that's sexualizing, because it looks like breasts. So again, I guess I'm not a parent, but for me, it's a no-brainer. Anything that has to do with sexualizing anything, I would not bring my children to,
Right.
you
Right.
know?
Yeah. A lot of Americans are up in arms about this, but end of the day, like you've got to be the parent to your own kid.
Yeah, but yeah, that's crazy. Again, like you said, I wouldn't want to bring my kid to anything that has to do with something that's sexualized. I feel like kids are getting way too sexualized these days. We're exposing kids to way too much. Like I heard something like they're doing in school now, talking about sex ed at fifth grade. I don't remember us talking about anything sexual until I was in high school. So I'm like, I feel like it's way too much sexual exploitation as far as kids these days. And me want to be a parent in the future, I would not want my children to be around anything at that age, to be honest.
So you didn't talk about anything sexual till high school, you said.
Yeah, we didn't have sex ed education until high school. We didn't have it in grade school at all. I remember that. That's why I'm so grateful I grew up the way I grew up. It was none of this. Like,
So yeah, because I feel like a lot of the reasons that parents are like bringing their kids around these drag queens is to culture the child in case the child turns out to be LGBTQ.
There's
the child
other ways. See, I feel like there's other ways you can culture your child. That bringing them to a drag show. Again, that's me. And this is me, part of the LGBT community. I will say I personally will not do it. And you know,
that's not something you needed as a trans person.
I grew up. This is why I said I'm so grateful. I had no LGBT people around me. I saw no LGBT shows. I just knew who the fuck I was. I just knew who I was because I was taught to be present in the body I am. And I was grateful for the body I had. I was grateful that I wasn't on hormones so young. I was just grateful for me. But I always knew who I was. You know, I always look at things on a more spiritual plane. I realize regardless of what body you are, this is an avatar. I'm an energetic being having a human experience. But as a child, I'm so grateful that I did not have any of this going on. It would have confused me even more. That's just my take. I'm just grateful.
Yeah. Okay. I want to talk about even more about being trans. I've never got to interview someone about being trans.
Yes.
Okay, so I have this article. So beautiful trans actress Jasmine Davis, getting a JJ was like giving birth to myself. So you completely switched. I guess that's what you mean by transsexual, not trans.
Yeah, and I hate that they constantly have to put transaction, a trans actress. It's so offensive. It's just like when they used to do to us Black people, Black actress. Why can't I just be an actress? But yes, I switched over, like I said, at 20. It was a no-brainer for me.
So the hormones. Now, I just want to ask you about like what that does. What does that do to like your mind and emotions? Because adding, unnatural hormone. I mean, it's hormones that your body doesn't create. So, I mean, how does that affect you?
It affects you in so many different ways. I feel like people got to be careful. I feel like in general, I blame the pharmaceutical company. In general, I feel like we are, whether it's anxiety medication, depression, we are just doping people up when we need holistic therapy. And I had therapy, before I went through anything. I had to go through therapy. I just don't understand how people are just getting this stuff done. It was so hard for me. I had to go through therapy to get stuff done. Even before I transitioned, I had to go to court. I had to swear on a Bible. I had to get a medical examination before I can get an ID, a birth certificate change. So I'm glad I did it the right way. And I had like support and I went through therapy, which I already knew what I was doing. But I feel like a lot of people are just like, oh, we're just going to take hormones. It affects your mind. It affects your emotion. I was just talking to this transgender kid who's very depressed and felt like they didn't want to be here. And I had to tell them, you deserve to be here, hon, regardless of, how you feel, where you feel like you should be, because they want to transition. And I kept telling them, if you transition, you think your life is going to be better. You got to do the inner work yourself. You got to find your happiness within the skin you're in first. Start loving who you are first and foremost. Transitioning is not just going to bring you this magical happiness.
Well, I agree that ideally you find the happiness in the skin you're in. But if you do find that happiness in the skin you're in, you wouldn't transition, right?
Well, that's not necessarily true, because that has nothing to do with you being happy. But if you feel like, okay, I would like to have a vagina. I feel like I was a woman. It didn't make me, I didn't feel like I was like a depressed, unhappy kid. I wasn't suicidal, but for me, that's why I said for me, I always felt that I was a woman. I wasn't a very unhappy kid, I wasn't depressed, but for me, I felt like I wanted the vagina. I felt like I was a woman, but I wasn't unhappy. I wasn't depressed. It wasn't I didn't need suicidal medication or anything. It was something that, again, on a spiritual level, I felt like this was my journey for me.
I see. I was looking at the tweets of one trans person. So this was a man who transitioned to a woman, fully transitioned, and then regretted it, transitioned back to man. And this guy went into deep detail about why he regretted it. Talking about the issues with cutting your dick off, honestly, and like having it, you still have morning wood, but you're just a nub that's like freaking,
I don't know about that. I don't know what surgeon he went to, but you don't really, for my surgeon, it's not really a cutoff. You keep all your veins and nerves. But for me, I don't know what surgeon he went to, but I feel sorry for that person. And it's different surgeries and different stages when it comes to that. And some people do have very, excuse my language, fucked up situations. That's why you gotta do your research. I was adamant in doing my research. I got blessed. Like I said, I have a fully functional vagina. I'm so happy with my decision. I don't regret it again. And sometimes I wish I would have done it earlier, but I'm glad I did not because I would have been more reckless. But I feel like I met some transgender people and transsexuals who regretted it. That's why I say you really should do therapy. I feel like, I'm not a religious person, so I'm more of a spiritual person. I say you should do the deep inner work with yourself and connect with source and feel like, are you doing this because this is the journey you feel like you should or you want to go on? Or you're doing this because someone told you to do this, or you feel like this will make you more happy, or some, it's there so many variables that you have to ask yourself these questions on really why you want to do this. Because when you're taking these hormones, you got to take certain things to make sure you counteract certain things, and they don't talk about that. And again, I'm happy with the decision I made.
Wait, what do you mean by counteract certain things?
Like you take hormones. So I take supplements or I take certain things to prevent, like making sure that, like I said, I'm making sure that I don't get a needle to create even a greater risk of blood clots. I take herbal supplements that helps convert the right estrogen into my body versus the wrong estrogen into my body. It's so many variables that I feel like you have to do your research on that a lot of people don't know. Just like you said, some people just get their dick cut off. Like, I don't know what surgeon do that, but if they do that, like that person's not going to have any feeling or anything. But it is some surgeons who do that. But it's some people who regret it. But I have known some people who regret it. But I've also known some girls like me who live their life, who has families, who have children. They're not really in the LGBT community because they live regular lives, and they love their life. That's what but it's a small percentage, I feel like, of trans people out there that's really trans versus people who may just be gay or may just be doing it because they want to get boys or girls or maybe confused in a sense. But I feel like
the guy I mentioned said that at the time he was just really mentally unstable, and the doctors should have known that and should have declined to do his surgery.
They don't do that a lot. I mean, I feel like a lot of times now, that's why I'm seeing more and more now. Back when, like I said, I was transitioning, it was mandatory. I had to go to years of therapy. I had to have that documented. I couldn't even get breast implants, even though I removed them. I couldn't even get breast implants before I had a clearance of a therapist. Now people can just hop on a table. They can get butt implants. They can get breast implants. They can get nose jobs. And they feel like that's going to fix the issue within them, And again, I always go back to, you need to do the deep work of who you feel, who you are, regardless of what. And that's why I say, for me, this avatar that I get to live in, that I'm so grateful for. But at the end of the day, I know I'm an energetic being having a human experience. I just chose to have a human experience in this body.
Wow. So you're saying you feel that you had reached a level of peace that even if you stayed male, you would have been at peace with yourself?
Either way, but I just felt like on a conscious level, I just felt like, for me, this was my journey. But yeah, if I came back as a male, to me it don't even matter, because now I know who I am as a conscious being. It doesn't really matter. But I feel like that's your inner work that you need to do for yourself. And I see both sides, and it's so sad because it's such an imbalance, because you have a lot of religious folks who now hating the LGBT community because the pendulum has swept way too far. And then you see a lot of LGBT people who are just so lost and just want to be loved and just want to be accepted, but have to realize you have to accept yourself. You can't give a fuck what someone else think about you or what someone else care. You have to take responsibility for your own happiness and say you are human. You already deserve to be here. Live how you want to, but do the work. But I feel like these doctors who are just forcing people, like forcing these drugs down people's throats and just giving people surgery without not asking them and giving them the proper psychological care that they need, should be held accountable. Because, once you do stuff like this, you can't take back. Just like I see a lot of girls who are getting all these butt implants and all this stuff is failure. People are just getting so much stuff in them and not thinking about. One thing I did regret, to be honest, was having breast implants.
Why?
Because all the complications I had with it. I was so content with my little boobs, but I felt compelled to get bigger boobs because, again, I was a dancer and I felt like it would have made me prettier. And it's so funny. You would have thought I would regret my vagina, but I'm like, I love her. But my breast implants, it was so many complications I had with it. And then when it was time for me to remove them and they asked me would I get them again, I said no. I was happy with the little boobs that I have.
Okay, so you're someone who is anti-needle, but pro-trans. So you're like in between, where liberals hate people who don't. Generally, liberals hate people who don't have the needle. Conservatives, I don't know, hate's a strong word, but liberals are like, about people who haven't had the needle. Conservatives are like, about people who are trans. So you're in between both of those.
I've always been in between worlds. And, because again, I have my own mind. I don't live by anyone else's rules. But I know a lot of conservatives who are not ill to trans. It's just, I feel like the LGBT people community have allowed people to piss people off so much that even that people who did not have a problem with people in the LGBT world are now having a problem, because they're seeing so much injustice, like the women's sport issue and all this other stuff that's going on. It's getting out of hand. It's so unbalanced. I tell people, regardless of what your belief is, nature itself lets you know that we were all put here and we were not all supposed to look alike and we were not all supposed to act alike. Like if you look at nature now, you have the animals are gay, straight, bi. There's even a fish, I forgot the name of it, that actually changes sexes, which I was like, that's fucking amazing. It's like you can all research this, but no one looks at nature. Everyone has their own agenda for whatever purpose. And for me, to be honest, I love you. I love humanity regardless. Even if someone doesn't respect my choices or don't like me, I can give a shit. That don't make me feel like I gotta hate you. I may not like the religion you on or understand your religion of hating people just because they don't believe in your God. But it doesn't make me feel like I should hate you because of it. I may be curious of why you hate someone because of that. But at the end of the day, I feel like my duty as a human being to want to get to know, have empathy for people. Who cares? We don't have to understand each other, but let's respect human existence in general. And I feel like on both sides, we need to start doing that. And we also need to start having a healthy balance, because right now it's so imbalanced. You have your far right, you have religious people who don't like people because of whatever their belief, and then you have your LGBT people, and then you have your people who don't like you because you don't have papers.
Show your papers. Yeah, I mean, I just harken back to what America was all about, land of the free. It's about individual liberty. So each person gets the freedom to live their life the way they see fit. And if someone else doesn't like it, well, that's none of the other person's business.
And I always say that it's none of my business. I love my country. I know a lot of people want to make us not love our country. But I live in a country where me, as this woman I am now, had the ability to work as Jasmine Davis, live my life. No one tried to stop me. No government tried to stop me. I did the recommendations I was supposed to do. Like I said, go before a judge, change everything. I'm so blessed because some countries, you don't get this opportunity. So today is summer solstice, it's summer solstice. And it's about finding out what makes you grateful. you know? And I feel like for me, I am grateful for the ability to be here, to be able to say, I get to work as me. I get to live as me. No government is about trying to lock me up and put me in jail. So when people are saying like we don't have rights or they're complaining about your rights, what rights are you complaining about? You have your basic human rights, you know? You're free to, you're free to live how you want to live. You just can't force people to live the way you want to live, and that goes from both aspects. You can't force
Exactly.
someone to to respect certain parts of the LGBT community. You can't force certain parts of people to get papers.
And some of the conservatives who are freaking out, I think, need to get back to owning their own power. They're freaking out about their kids being exposed to things. Well, realize you're the parent and you get to choose what you expose your kids to.
Yeah, they
You have
drop
the
their
freedom
kids
to
off like
homeschool.
daycare in the
Yeah.
school. But I feel like a lot of parents just drop their kids off. It's like a daycare center. They don't hold these teachers accountable. And I'm like you said, if I was a parent, there will be no bueno for me. I want to know what you're teaching my kid. I want to know the curriculum. I want to know all of it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, my parents homeschooled me, and I'll probably homeschool my kids because, if you're concerned about what your kid's being exposed to, take responsibility as a parent. And even though that may come at a higher price where you have to school the kid yourself, but
Yeah.
you got to own your own power and stop giving it away and getting furious at other people as an individual in a free society. That's my stand on it all. So for you, what's next? I mean, you left a big show on Showtime. What's happening next?
I'm doing music. Like I said, I'm focusing on my online business and my business. I already started auditioning again because I guess some networks are not requiring you to have papers.
Oh,
The
good.
mandates are slowly going away. But yeah, so I'm just taking it easy. Like I said, I'm just taking it easy, living life and just enjoying this moment. And I'm so grateful for the decision I made to leave. And yeah, working on my music, working on myself, and just like again, just being grateful for where I'm at. Because 2.5 years ago, I nearly lost it after dealing with these people. And it says a lot for someone who's transgender who did come up with depression and anxiety. They took me through a lot, and no, they claim they care about mental health, but no one cared about my mental health. And I was like slowly slipping.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for coming on, being so open with me and my audience. Jasmine Davis, guys, link to Jasmine's Instagram in my description. And all the best to you.
Thank
Keep in
you.
touch. Let me know what's next.
Totally. And tell your audience I said thanks for listening. And I send love and light to everyone.
Sounds good. All right. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Talk to you soon. Bye.